Good afternoon. Welcome to the board portion of the Residents Council meeting. Residents Council? It's okay. Tonight I'm not going to say anything worth hearing, but I'll try to speak up a little bit. My wife says I mumble. I just keep telling her I don't have anything to say, and she agrees to that. My name is Dennis Stark. I'm chairman of the corporate board, and welcome tonight this afternoon to the Residents Council meeting. I'd like to take a few moments to introduce the board members that are in attendance. First of all, Jerry Jacks. Dr. Rob Burgess. Bill O'Connor. Paula Poundstone? No. Paula Kelton. Gary Wright. And our representative from the legal side of the community, Boz Schmieden. If you've ever seen his name, you know why most people that know him just call him Boz. So without further ado, I'll introduce Joe Traynor. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Now, here's the deal. You will find out what the monthly service fee increase is, and your friends will not. My play on that I would leverage that, $1 for every person who asks you what it's going to be? Seriously, $4? Yeah, there you go. $5, $6, doesn't make any difference. Leverage that. As we start out every quarterly meeting, one of the first thing that we'd like to do is employee recognition. We have employees that are 5, 10, and 15 years of service. We have them all over. Jennifer Bauer, Transportation. What I did is kind of did something a little bit different is I gave you their department and I also gave you what their job title is. She's actually a CDL driver. You know her as Talina. In our payroll, she's Ada. Hendrickson, she's resident services and she's the fitness quarter. She's been here 5 years. Can you believe that? 5 years already. Wow. She worked you out pretty hard for 5 years, huh? Sabrina Hoover, Majestic Oaks, she's a PT assistant. And Bryce Huffman, Majestic Oaks CNA. For 10 years. I've been told it's enunciated Richard Rouget. He's grounds and chemical technician. And then Karen Wixon, again, Majestic Oaks, she's a charge nurse RN. And for 15 years of service, Iseline Tomlinson, she's Majestic Oaks CNA. And Judy Jaworski, a home health, and she's a home health companion. So we thank these people for their years of service. So we did a little math today and we found out that just over 53% of our 481 employees have been here 3 years or longer. Now you're going to ask, well, John, why did you pick 3 years? All that is pre-pandemic. I just kind of wanted to find out who's kind of stuck with us and how many employees have kind of stuck with us. And we actually have a good number of employees that have kind of hung on during the pandemic. And so we thank them for their service. Going through the pandemic was, of course, not easy, and they have done a phenomenal job. All right, budget philosophy. We're going to just jump right into it. Everybody knows what our budget philosophy is. You've heard me yak about this how many hundreds of times? 300-400 times. This is important because if you're someone new and you're going to look at the monthly service fee increase and say, they don't really need that money, they just want to pad their pocket because they want to pay for that expansion that they're doing. Now, question, does your monthly service fee pay for any expansion? Excellent. Now you're looking good in front of the board. No, it doesn't. Monthly service fees go and pay monthly bills. Your entrance fee pays for debt, which we are one of 3 communities in the state of Florida that have no debt, and I did meet the other 2. Goes for capital budget items. That can be a variety of things. It could be a new bus, a new van, a new air conditioner on top of Majestic Oaks. It could be a variety of things. And then construction, the renovation of units, and expansion. So anytime we do anything that is a considerable amount of money, like the renovation of your unit, for many of you previous to moving in, we renovated your unit. In many cases, we gutted it. We put new bathrooms in, put new cabinets. We redid the kitchen. All that entrance fee money goes and pays for that. So that's what we use the entrance fee money. And of course, we use entrance fee monies to pay for the expansion at Valencia Landing. And we took that money. We didn't finance anything. We didn't go to the bank and borrow anything. We took it from investments. Make sense? Monthly service fees, monthly bills, payroll, which we're going to talk about that, and then operating expenses. So it's important that you know these things. So we're looking at the 2023 budget because that is in blue, and then we're going to do a little comparison to our 2023 budget and compare it to 22 and then what 21 looked like. So when you look at it, the budget for Majestic Oaks for revenue is just at about 10 million, just 11 million. It's 10 million 9 and some change. Assisted living is 2 million 8. Home health is 1 million 3. And then Oak Park is 2 million 5, which the pharmacy makes up a large portion of the revenue at Oak Park. Currently, if we're annualize it, and we kind of tried to annualize it as of our August financial statements, Majestic Oaks is about 10.3, but I want to do this one too because you can see that they were budgeted for about 11.7. We thought, like you, that we would see a bounce back quicker with the pandemic, but what the pandemic has actually done is it's had doctors send people home after surgeries versus sending them for rehab stints, and that's been a significant change to us. So our number of Medicare days, is down, as are our number of HMO days are down. So when you look at our actual 21 budget was 11,700,000. Assisted living was 2.5 million in 21. It's 2.7, and we're looking at almost 2.9 as a budget. Assisted living continues to remain strong and be a good performer with us. We are thrilled to death to see home health performing as well as they are. They're starting to move in the right direction, which we're thrilled with that. And Oak Park, of course, is physician's practice, pharmacy, and outpatient rehab. They were budgeted in 21 for $2.4 million. 22 is 2.3, and then we're budgeting for 2.55 in revenue for 23. Independent living revenue, this one is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. This is where the lion's share of our revenue comes from. We're budgeted for $20,300,000. And you can see the difference is the other two are right at about 16 million. 21 is at 16.4, and we're projecting 22 at 16.6. We're projecting revenue for 23 at 20 million. And you know why, right? Yes? Valencia Landing. We do anticipate. We had that, and when we look at our financials, you'll see that we're kind of off on our revenue projections because we anticipated more units completed and more people moved in by this time, and it just hasn't materialized like we had hoped. This is our occupancy. Cottages, 311, apartments, 101, Villa 74, Valencia Landing is 8. The reason we only have 8 is because we've only opened up phase 1. Assisted living has 49 beds. Majestic Oaks we put at 120. And I put it at 120 because we finally have gotten 2 units at Majestic Oaks closed. Each unit is 15 beds, so you subtract those 30 beds from 150 and you have 120. And you'll notice that their current occupancy is about 103. And they've been hanging out 101, 103, 107. I think they've been averaging out just under 106 for the year. Assisted living, their actual occupancy is 41, so that they're doing well. Valencia, 6 are there, and we have 2 more pending move-ins. And then the villas include the Silverstones and then Holly Branch. That's how we get that 74 number. And then apartments, 63 out of 101. You can say, well, Joe, you've taken some units out. We're strategically looking at where we can combine units, combine apartments to make a bigger apartment. We're certainly going to go ahead and try to do that. We have a couple of units that are 350 square feet. And while we may have somebody living in those, that's not what we project moving forward. People want a larger apartments is what we found. Which is understandable why that 63 is what it is. Healthcare expenses. Yikes. You'll notice for Majestic Oaks, their healthcare expenses are $13,200,000. You're going to say, Joe, wait, you only budgeted $11 million for them. Well, there's a lot of changes in healthcare, and there's a lot of things that we need to right size as we go through. And one of them is staffing. Some of it is gotten out of hand, and it is making sure that we have staff to take care of the residents that we have, the 103 residents that we have. A number that I have shared with other people is the number of independent living and assisted living residents that have been permed to Majestic Oaks. So between people that have passed and people that have been permed, meaning Majestic Oaks is the most appropriate level of care, that number is in excess of 50 so far this year. And so we have looked at that, and while we normally expect about a turnover rate of about 48 a year, we're projecting that turnover rate to be significantly higher this year. And so when you look at it, many of the people that are in Majestic Oaks are not going to pay market rate. That's the beauty of your contract. When you move to Majestic Oaks, you'll pay whatever. If you're paying $2,500 a month for your cottage, that $2,500 a month follows you to Majestic Oaks. Yes, there's a medical meal add-on, and then there's ancillaries. But for care that is going to now cost in excess of $10,000 a month, you're paying just about $3,800 on average. Sound right? Well, that was the beauty of when you signed the contract of what you signed up for. Now, do we need to make some adjustments with that? Yeah. Did we expect salaries to go crazy and expenses to go crazy? No, we didn't. So that explains that variance when you look at it. Assisted living, we anticipate about just over $2.1 million in expenses. Home health about $1.2 million, $1.3 million, and Oak Park is 2.6. Now, for those that were paying attention, you're going to say, well, Joe, didn't you just say Oak Park is only going to be about 2.5? Yes. A lot of that is because the physician's clinic, while we can bill your Medicare, one of the things that we do is we have a savings to our employees. If they go and see Martha and they're on our health insurance, we don't charge them. We mark that, we charge that against our health insurance, but what that did for us in 21 is we were able to control our healthcare expenses, and we have a check coming back for about $320,000. Now take that $320,000, add it to the 2.5, and what do you have? You got something that operates in a more of a positive manner. Does that make sense to everybody? So what we do is a lot of our employees go to Martha. I go to Martha just like a number of other employees do. I know many of you will go and see Martha. Hey, I've got a cold, I'm not feeling well. Can you address this? Martha is a tremendous asset to the organization. And without her, you'll be going and waiting in line somewhere in Orange City, DeLand, or DeBerry to go see your doctor. And then exposing yourself even more to the virus. So we'll look at that 22 annualized. For Majestic Oaks is about 12 million. And then you'll see that 21 was over 13 million. And you can explain why, can't you? Right? COVID. And testing of employees. And every time they went over 5%, they had to test employees. Or they had a breakout, they had to test employees. So a lot of those expenses are for testing supplies and testing employees. Assisted living, actual was 1.6 million. Occupancy was down. Annualized is 1.7. Home health, was 21 was 1.4 million. Annualized 22 is 1.1 million. And then Oak Park for 21 was 2.5, and then annualized 2.5, about $32,000 less. Operational expenditures. Just put them all up there. So again, the blue is what the 23 budget is. The red is 22 annualized this year, projected out for the remainder of the year, and 21 is an actual. So dining services. Dining services for 21 was $3.7 million. You want to guess what 22 is projected out to be? If you were to say $4 million and some change, you would be right. And for the budget, we're projecting $4.4 million, almost $4.5 million for dining services next year. Plant, 21 was 3.8, annualized is 4.7, and the budget is 5.2. You want to guess why? Supply issues is one of them. Wages, utilities. You're right on all accounts. On all accounts. And so while we put those solar panels up in place and thinking that was going to save us some, well, it's a spit in the bucket compared to what rates we're going to do. Housekeeping was just under, it was $976,000 for 21. For 22, it's $1 million, and then for 23, $1.3 million. That almost all is in employee wages. Security, the same thing. It was about $580,000. 22 was $614,000. 23 is up at $743,000. And then transportation is the very same thing. They're moving from 477 to 605. So this is net operating income. Net operating revenue, I guess, operating revenue overall. So revenue projected for the entire campus is $38 million. For 22, we're projecting 34, and then in 21, we're at 34. What has happened is we're not getting people moving into cottages and villas as quickly as we projected. Valencia Landing is one of those. And then moving into cottages, so that's a decline in occupancy. Then for, you look at the operating expenses, it's 32 for 21, 33 for 22, and then the budget for operating expenses is up at 37. And then income actual for 21 was just about $2 million. 22 is projected to be about $964,000, and then 23 we're projecting at 1.3 million. Fun stuff, and it didn't stop. Employee health insurance. I just found out before I came here, we probably can get our renewal for employee health insurance flat, so with no increase. That would be for the organization that will be 6 years in a row now that we've been able to pass on little to no increase to our employees. So that'll be zero. But third-party reimbursement, Medicare, Medicaid, HMOs are really kind of squeezing, and Medicare is looking at cutting. Medicaid is actually going to increase funding. You can say, wow, that's great, right? No. The counter to that is effective October 1, they're mandating a $15 minimum wage for every nursing home employee at Majestic Oaks. So many of those people will be moving from $11.50, $12 an hour to $15. For the remainder of this year, just that change on 41 employees is just over $80,000 to the organization. That's significant. That's significant. General property professional is 15%. Property insurance. This is going to be the crapshoot. If we don't get the roofs done and get everything in place like we expect to, we're looking at a double-digit increase. We're looking at a 100% increase over what our current property insurance is. So there is a lot of leverage being put on R&R to get those roofs done. Vendor costs, supplier costs are the same, anywhere between 15 and 20%. You've heard it, you've seen it, and you've heard it just as well as I have. Majestic Oaks minimum wage, $15 an hour, effective October 1. Increased utility costs. Duke Energy is proposing a 13% increase. However, energy over the last 12 months, the energy sector is up 22.6%. Employee wages, just the increase in employee wages for the year. And that is moving people from $11.50 to $13.50 an hour is $1.6 million. That's just the increase. That doesn't include any other raises to any other employees. And then obviously we plan on getting to the market rate much sooner than mandated by the state of Florida. The cost of living adjustment for 22 is 5.9. Did you know that? You probably knew that. They're projecting an 8.7 for 23. And then the CPI, Consumer Price Index for the Southeast region for the last 12 months is 8.9. Now, who didn't know that? If you watch any of my chats, you would have seen that. You would have seen that all over the place. So, just little fun things that I want to share. You'll see that this is the average annual service fee for John Knox in comparison to a variety of communities. And this is for 2019. We also have 2020, but 21, they have not sent us the reports yet. And typically by this time, we more than have the reports. So the average range, the range is 23,900 to 76,000. Moorings Park is 76,000. In 2019, John Knox, Central Florida, was 37,122. So for 20, we went from 37,122 to 38,900 is the average annual monthly service fee. So if you take up all your service fees, divide it by the number of residents, that's what we receive in revenue from a resident on an annual basis. And yet what I did here for 20 is, that slide doesn't look very impressive, does it? You look at, there's probably about 23 people there? There's considerably more there. So it shows you where you are on the spectrum for increases in monthly service fees. Debt, we won't take much time on that. There's your monthly service fee increase. Cottages and villas, 4%. Apartments, 2.5%, and I'll come back and I'll explain that. Majestic Oaks is 5%, and Oakview Suites is 5%. Apartments is 2.5% for a number of reasons. 1, low occupancy. 2, the monthly service fee is high in the market, in the competitive market, comparatively to the competition. So what we want to start doing, and we talked about this last year, we want to start making the increases on the apartments much smaller or smaller than the increases elsewhere. But 4% in light of everything else going on is, I think, pretty reasonable. To the point where what I did is I shared this last year. I kind of cut it up a little bit. The last 6 years is the Consumer Price Index and then the industry average increase in monthly service fees, and then the increase in John Knox Village service fees. So if you're comparing, hey, you're really going much higher than the consumer price index, and once we get by this year, you'll see that it'll be different, especially if it remains somewhere around 9%. You'll be adding that. So the industry average is 21.33% increase over the last 6 years. You've received 13.7. I'm going to claim that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, where's the money going? It's going to supplies, right? It's going to pay the bills. It's going to the employees. I can't count the number of times you've come up to me and you have said to me, we're losing good employees because you're not paying them. Right? You're losing good employees because you're not paying them. And I'm going to tell you, we pay very well in the market. We have been very fortunate to recruit some very talented people. And with that, good people don't ever have to go look for a job. A job will find them. And so some of the people that we've lost, other people are out looking for recruiters. I can tell you, it's not uncommon for somebody to get a call from a recruiter a couple times a month. It won't be long, and I'll say it right in front of you to put a little peer pressure on her. It won't be long before Candace or Shannon start receiving calls from headhunters to try to recruit them to go somewhere else. I bet you are. It is just the nature of the market. We have a tendency to recruit very good people that are very customer service oriented. Not everybody, not all of us, but many of our employees are very customer service oriented. And I can talk about Jacqueline Prescott. It was just a matter of her going to an interview. Who wouldn't hire her? With her energy and her personality, who wouldn't hire her? Really? You've all dealt with her, and you've dealt with other residents, or other employees that are in the very same boat. They're dynamic, they're customer focused, and we were fortunate to have them for the time that we're going to have them. And I talked about this over a year ago. We're going to lose good employees. Not because we can't pay them. It's just we can't pay them what some of the competition is. But some of them have called us and said, do you believe what I have to do for what I'm getting paid? Yes, I do. What did you think it was going to be? A day at the beach? So at the end of the day, I think 13%, we're going up 4% for cottages and villas, 2.5%, and then healthcare, which I got to tell you, healthcare is out of control. And there are many organizations that are closing their nursing home. Lutheran Haven is one of them. I went to a leading age conference, and I'm going to say a far great percentage, 70 to 75% of the organizations that were there said they're either making their nursing homes smaller or they're getting out of the nursing home business just because they can't continue to afford that. Now, we're going to make sure that Majestic Oaks gets things right. You're going to hear a lot of screaming. You're going to hear a lot of people that are very upset. We have changes we need to make. Those are changes that help us position ourselves for next year and the years after. I had a CEO tell me, what good is your organization if your residents outlive it? Think about that. If we're not here in 5 years, what happens to you? I could tell you exactly what's going to happen. Somebody's going to fly in, swipe it for a song and a dance, and then everything changes. That's what's going to happen. We have a lot of things to work on in the next 3 months. We have 12 months next year that we have to really focus on our health care and a number of other areas. not to rain on the parade. That's the dining program. And before you ask, yes, it is under advisement on if adding money to the dining program. During this time, I have not had a chance to reach out to residents to kind of see where the feeling is, but we are going to do that, and if we do that, we will also send that out with our increase in our monthly service fee letter, which goes out by the end of October. Fair enough? So if you're going to ask that question, we're kind of looking at it. Questions? 3, 2, 1. Yes, ma'am.
I'm wondering how the employees are going to feel that are at $11, $12 an hour, and Majestic Oaks all of a sudden goes to 50.
You're absolutely right. I'm concerned about that too. It is a state mandate. We have no option as far as that goes. And the only reason we're doing it is because the state is throwing funding behind it. So when we talked about Medicaid going up, that's the reason Medicaid is going up. Because they're going to go ahead and they're going to fund that additional wage increase for at least 1 year. My bet, it's only 1 year. But when they look at it, the governor has decided to fund the $15 an hour for skilled nursing for 1 year. So I completely understand that. We completed an employee survey. Some of the talking points when we meet with employees is we're going to be very forthright about that, and we're going to share that with them. January 1. Great, yes. She asked, is it possibility to throw them a bone, some type of incentive, something small, so they know that they're going home with something? Now, there's a couple schools of thought. First of all, the first school of thought is all employees on January 1 go up to $13.50 to begin with. So anybody who's $11.50 is now at the $13.50. The second thing is that they had an equal opportunity to apply for a job at Majestic Oaks as anybody else. They elected not to. So some of that we don't have control, and I can tell you at this point, I don't have the dollars to do it. Because right now we're looking at $80,000 from October 1 through the remainder of the year just for 41 employees. Because that is some of those people. Now, I'll ask the other question for you. Well, what kind of raise does that mean they get next year? Should they get a raise? The answer is no. We're moving somebody's wages in excess of 30%. I get my money from you. How do I justify to you that I just moved an employee's wages 30%, and now I want to move it another 3, 4, 5, 6%? That's not fair to the other people. So as we go through this and we walk through this, we're going to walk employees through this so they understand that. But I have no latitude in doing that. If the state is funding it, I need to do it. Otherwise, what I do is I lose that funding. In addition, I can get cited because it is a mandate by the state. Other questions? No.
Yes. This is about the Board of Directors. It's nice to see you here. I'm just curious if you, Joe, Mr. Trainer, or Chairperson, President Stark, could give us a little overview of how many of you have what kinds of terms? Are you sticking around for this upcoming difficult time? Sounds like some big things will be underway. I just, could you give us a little overview of, as a board, when your terms are, how many are you? Are there any openings? And I'm curious about legal counsel and whether he's a board member or he's hired counsel, and what kinds of legal questions typically
Okay,
does the board
some
bring
of
up?
that is going to be a little bit lengthier question. So I would ask, let me push that off to December. Our legal counsel is legal counsel for the board and for John Knox Village. He is not a board member. So we currently have 9 board member seats, and we have 8 board members in those seats with a variety of talent in a number of areas. As you know, Gary Wright was our legal counsel. We begged him to get on the board because he knows where all the bodies are buried, so to speak.
Yeah, it wasn't really blackmail.
And he's a phenomenal board member. He was as legal counsel, and Boz has taken his position as legal counsel. What I will do is, we have done just that before, kind of done a little biography on each of the board members previously, and for the December board meeting, why don't we can do that again? Fair enough? Fair enough?
I would say, as far as people leaving, because it's difficult, most of these folks have been on the board for over 20 years. We've made a commitment to this organization, and we take it very seriously. I'm an old country banker, and we have no debt. I was a lender. We have no debt. Most of us, as we serve on the board, we bring whatever expertise we have, knowing the pratfalls, the good and the bad of it, and try to make sure that we only get the good end of it. And that's what I see in my 20-some years on the board. And before I was on the board, I got beat up on the foundation from almost the beginning of the foundation. As that went on back and forth, I'm no longer on the foundation, and my hair's starting to turn dark again. So, but I think you'll find that the board members that we have, and going forward in the future, we are selecting some very talented people, and they're doing a good job, and they're making Joe jump, they're making me jump, and they're very concerned and serious about the decisions they make. And we all understand that we're not here for the money. Otherwise, some of the money that we had, we could pay us. We're here because we're trying to make this the best that we can for you folks. And I think a tribute to that is we've had 4 former members of the board, that have joined the village as residents. So somewhere in there's a really good idea. Some of us haven't caught up. Then, some of us, a poor old country banker, I can't afford it, so. Thank you.
Because he has no debt.
And I have no debt either.
I do want to assure the residents, as president of council, by law, I was invited to the budget meeting, and the board of directors did not give Mr. Trainer a free ride. They questioned very thoroughly, bounced a lot of ideas off, and I was really impressed. And so you were in good hands with this board.
All right, anything else? Seeing none, remember, try to leverage your position, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you for coming.